welcome to the Death Battle Cast. We've got a very special episode today. We got a three-for-all, in a way, I suppose. Hey, I'm Ben. I'm the voice of Wiz in Death Battle. I'm joined, as usual, by my co-host, Chad, the voice of Boomstick.
Hi.
What's up, Chad?
What's up?
You're doing pretty well today, right?
Yeah, kind of. I've got a story for you for later.
All right. We've got Liam. He's here, too. That's not Liam.
I look different. Hey, everybody. How are y'all doing?
Today, Luis will be playing the role of Liam. Hello, Liam.
Luis, can you give me your best Liam impression?
Let's see. Let me think of like something you would say in a meeting. Yeah, that looks great. That's my impression. That's my impression of Liam.
That was a good impression, dude.
We have a special guest today, coming all the way from the other side of the U.S.
Reality.
We have Batman.
Batman.
There.
Some
Batman.
upright citizen has accidentally turned this camera on its side. That's what's wrong. Well, let me just correct that for us here.
Bravo, Billy.
Who's Billy?
Or sorry,
Who's
Batman.
Billy?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Trying
What?
to give
Did you
away
just
his
reveal
secret
Batman's-
identity already?
Yeah.
Light is listening.
Light would be the use of that.
Yeah, that worked. That's good
Yeah,
enough,
that's
Batman.
perfect. Good enough.
That's
Yeah.
appropriate. Yes.
I'm interested in the new look. Wasn't expecting Batman to have facial hair. That's
Well,
new.
It's the Batbeard. Yes, I grow it, when necessary to be a little rugged for disguise or perhaps to intimidating criminal scum, that sort of thing. Are any of you intimidated? Liam?
Very.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
Especially
just,
with the
I
Dutch
just
angle
shit
going
myself.
on.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Dutch
It's
angle is
very
great.
dark.
Don't fix it.
Yeah.
There's this
It's very dark.
dark,
So you
like,
can just kind of see beard. That's about
Yeah.
it. Like,
Just like a boy with a beard.
yeah.
Well,
all right.
While Batman
Well,
struggles with his camera, I saw something that I wanted to share with y'all that reminded me when I accidentally outed his secret identity. Did you guys know that there's an episode? Do you know about the episode of Batman the Animated Series where the one guy got a hold of he knows Batman's secret identity and it's on a VHS tape and he's trying to auction it off to the supervillains, and the VHS tape says Bruce Wayne on it, and so he's trying. I watched this video on it. It was cracking me up.
well, maybe it was to throw people off the trail. Bruce Wayne is Batman? That's impossible. I couldn't believe that for a second.
Yeah, that guy's an asshole.
Yeah.
Right?
Why would he ever be Batman?
He's more of a playboy man about town than an asshole, I would say. An upright citizen, really. But anyway, moving on.
All right. So I see Batman is protecting the rich, obviously. Okay, so
I protect all
today
citizens of Gotham, Ben. How dare you?
Equally, sure, yes.
Equally.
Let's get into today's episode because we have a pretty big group of matchups we're going to be talking about. Some matchups that we have discussed multiple times before, kind of here and there, and even joked about. We will be talking about the Light Yagami versus the World matchups. World being
Everybody.
Batman
Everyone in the
himself.
world.
Well, he could do that pretty easily. Batman himself, Walter White of Breaking Bad, and finally, Detective Columbo, as represented by, of course, Liam here.
True story, individual of the police department.
Yes. Before we get to that, I do want to. You guys have probably heard me say this spiel before, so I'll do it real quick. But if you haven't heard it, Rooster Teeth is closing its doors in May, and we have been posting on our YouTube channel as normal, and will continue to do so to some degree for now. Super chats are currently disabled. Everybody in chat right now, we definitely appreciate you being here, but we do not recommend buying or gifting any new memberships for the time being. We are processing this information real time, and we'll provide updates on specific plans and whatnot whenever we can. You can hear from this directly on our social media. You can find me at Ben B. Singer on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, etc. Chad James RT, Liam, you're just Liam. Are you Liam Richard Swan? Is that what it was?
I think so on Twitter. Yeah,
I
that's
think
something like
so.
that.
Luis, is it Jumpin' Jets now?
Yeah.
And then of course Batman.
The _ Batman 66.
Yeah.
Where you find me, of
Did you,
course.
did you check that Twitter before you said it out loud?
I did. You know what? Don't look there. I'll use the Prime computer to verify its authenticity first.
It's all porn. Wow.
Specifically Batman related. It's so
Yeah.
weird.
You know, back to
That's
bio, right?
in bio.
Yeah, thank you. Great.
I do also need to say that, and this one's going to be a little hard to say, unless something changes, and things could still change, but unless something changes, next week's Death Battle cast will be the last Death Battle cast, or at the very least, the last Death Battle cast under Rooster Teeth. Hopefully, we'll have more information to share during that episode of what's to come for us later. Because we are potentially in the last episode of Death Battle cast and wrapping things up until the end of Rooster Teeth, we do have a few different events coming up that I do want to just put out there real quick. So later this week on Thursday, it's April 18th, we are going to be doing a community clash in the Death Battle Discord. We've been doing these pretty frequently this past month. This week is going to be a little different than usual. It's not going to be playing video games. It will be playing a tabletop game. We have joked about doing Dungeons and Death Battle for a while now, and it's time to just do it. So this Thursday at 5 p.m. Central on the Death Battle Discord, we will be doing Dungeons and Death Battle. I will be GMing for these lunatics, and we'll see what will happen. And then the next day, Friday, on April 19th, we are going to be doing the ultra super mega-sized live ballot banter. Basically, we're going to try to get through all the rest of the matchups that are on the ballots that you guys submitted for the Tournament of Champions back in the day. We've been releasing those as ballot banter videos, but we want to make sure to get through as many of them, if not all of them, as possible before Rooster Teeth closes. So that will be this Friday, again, on the Death Battle Discord. That'll be at 4 p.m. Central. And if you're not on the Death Battle Discord, you can just go ahead and join. We'd love to see you guys there. And to be clear, I believe even if like worst comes to worst and everything shuts down here, the Death Battle Discord itself will continue on. It's its own entity. It's not necessarily going to be tied to Rooster Teeth moving forward. But we'll see what happens in the future, right? And then next week, we will be having our final Rooster Teeth related fireside chat. That will be Wednesday, April 24th. At 5 p.m. Central. That will be here on the Death Battle YouTube for members. Hopefully, we will have even more information to share. that will be the goal there. And then the following day, we will have the last Rooster Teeth related community clash again in the Discord.
Party at my house.
Yeah, a big. We're going to try to get as many people involved as possible. It's going to be
Well, Chad,
a big.
am I
event.
invited as a law-abiding citizen world?
Yes, of course, Batman. You were invited, and I will expect you to show up in costume now.
I've made a terrible mistake.
Also, Sonic's Halt in the chat said secret identity in bio, so that one got me.
I love it. Will it be recorded? Oh, the Dungeons and Death Battle and the other events. I don't actually know. I think it'd be cool to record those. I just don't know if we'd be able to post them. We'll see. So yeah, but if you do tune into the Dungeons and Death Battle this Thursday, and then the ultra live ballot banter on Friday, that'll be fun. A lot of us will be there. Okay.
I like how you referred to the Discord as an entity, like it was like a living being that like consumes souls. I appreciated that.
I didn't really think of a different word off the top of my head.
Similar to Columbo,
yeah, it is.
I think entity is very appropriate.
It sounds like
kind
what I've
of
heard.
is.
Yes.
It's its own beast in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do this. So we are going to go through the different matchups individually. I have a feeling some of them will last a little bit longer than others. So we are going to start with Light Yagami versus the Cape Crusader himself, since he is here, and honestly, he's Batman. We don't know how long he's going to be on stream with us. Like, he could get
it's
called
always
away
hard
by
to say. It could happen any second. The commissioner is always on the lookout for crime.
Yeah, apparently they can't do anything without you, even though they have this
they do their
ridiculously overfunded police department. Anyway, so
sorry, I know you're trying to move it on, but Alec Warren had a good question, which is, should I cancel my membership? And I just want to say, like, I mean, obviously, do whatever you need to for your own financial situation, because especially in this economy, good lord. But that said, if you're down to hang out, hopefully hang out another week, and we hope to have more news that we can share on the Fireside Chat. So,
yeah, that's about all we can say on that at the moment.
Right.
Okay, so way this is going to work, as always, is we will present our arguments for who should win. I am going to be presenting Light, I guess, this whole time. So I'm going to be arguing for Light Yagami. And I guess since he's here, Batman, you could just argue for yourself.
Well, certainly,
about whether or not
I don't want to be too braggadocious or anything like that, but I do know my feats, I suppose.
Great. Okay, then let's get into talking about Light Yagami versus Batman, and then we'll get to a vote. I don't know, about 10-15 minutes from now, so that we can then move on to Walter White and Columbo. All right, so Light Yagami. I'll be let's get 60 seconds on the clock. I will introduce you to Kira, or as you should probably refer to him as, God. Because he's basically God. Like, he's the one who controls your life and whether or not you live or die. Kira is everything that that matters in the world, if in regards to whether you can be successful or not. Because if you slip up and he finds out about you, and nobody knows how Kira finds out about you, then you're just dead. It doesn't matter, because Light has the power of the Death Note and the Shinigami at his fingertips, and he's such a brilliant strategist. He's an absolute genius from a very young age, able to known for being incredibly smart, far smarter than his peers, able to match up against L, the greatest detective in the world, and beat him. So if he can beat L, like, what's Batman gonna do, right? I mean, Batman can't be as good a detective as L.
Was that written by Light? Because when you were like, Light is God, I was like, is Light speaking right? Does Light like have a death note pointed at your head, like off
Have you
screen?
been threatened, Benjamin? I'll stop it if so.
I can't exactly say for sure whether or not Light is involved at all in me talking right now.
There you go. You get the
anyway. Let's talk about
Batman.
Class.
Batman.
You know, in the scene, like, he eats it so dramatically that salt gets everywhere, and I'm like, my keyboard's right in front of me. I don't want to do that.
He like shatters it with his tooth, and like the pieces
So
fly,
you're more responsible than this teenager, you're saying. Well, interesting.
All right, Batman, 60 seconds on the clock. What can you do?
Well, let's see. Greetings, citizens. I'm Batman, of course. Technology, intelligence, funding. I've got all kinds of technology. Car, boat, plane, belt that could literally shatter the cosmos several times over. You know, that sort of thing. But here's my position. A Batman of your average universe could use his wits and technology to find Kira in no time at all, really, far faster than in his actual universe. But I would posit that the one true Batman would be able to put it together with far less collateral damage, less deaths, and no deaths, potentially. And he would be able to do it with a trail of illogic that rivals logic. Now let's see. Light said he was not Kira. Not. Now, a crime of any magnitude is naughty, not E. Note. Of course! It's a note! Kira's killing people with a deadly notebook! Some sort of thing that he inscribes his victims upon. I know exactly who he is. But I'll finish my chat with you folks first.
If I could,
I think Batman just figured it out. I mean, I think that less than, it's not even that you need feats or a discussion. I think we literally just witnessed Batman in real time figuring out.
The only thing it was missing was a giant Acme-sized bomb. I just wish I could, like...
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
How long does it
See-
take for
see-
like a person to die just normally on the death note? Like if you don't put
60
a-
seconds.
60 seconds.
40
It's been
seconds.
40
I believe.
seconds.
40
that I've
seconds,
seen,
sorry.
yes.
Okay, 40 seconds. Okay.
For some reason, everything is 40 seconds with the death note.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't actually remember.
Well,
if
4
that's ever
is
explained why.
a deadly number in Japanese culture, so
Oh,
that could
yeah, that's
potentially be
true.
Oh,
It's the
Oh,
unlucky
yeah, that makes
number.
sense.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
This is the greatest detective in the world right there.
So I think Ben, I think this is gonna be a recurring thing, obviously, and it's a recurring thing in the manga. It's the whole reason why you can't just like, it's the whole reason why there's a conflict, right? There's a plot. Is that the Death Note has lots of rules. Do you know like what those rules like offhand are? Because I think they're really relevant here, especially with like Batman.
So I did look into the rules to see if there was something that I could find that could help get around Batman.
His
in
name.
some
I mean, you
way.
need to know. You would need to know.
The basic.
You can't just put.
So yeah, there are the basic rules, of course. I guess I should go over how Light kills
Yes, that
people.
seems logical for this episode.
The basic rules are Light needs to know your name and your face, and he has to write your name into the Death Note with your face in mind. Your image is what I think it specifies. Although face is specified in other rules. There's a lot
you
of
need
like
to be able to picture
ancillary
their
rules.
face. Yes.
Yes. You just need to be able to know the image and the name of the person. You write them in the notebook, and then you either write a form of death or it will automatically be a heart attack. You can write it to be a suicide. You can write an act that they perform that could go on for a long period of time. But you cannot write it in a way that they kill somebody else. Theoretically, you could do it to harm somebody else, because that kind of happens with the bus jacker, but not to kill. So you can only kill one person with the Death Note. So
Okay,
he wouldn't be able to be like, I'm gonna have Harvey Dent go
Yeah.
blow up Batman.
Stab.
You know?
Yeah, Batman.
Yeah, he can't do that. But if so long as he figures out, so what this is really about is who can figure out whose identity first, Batman versus Kira, and who can then take care of them first, essentially. If Batman is going to jail Light or kill him in the rules of death battle, I suppose, or if Kira is going to figure out Bruce Wayne.
Well, maybe that's why he's got the glasses and the beard. His face is extra unrecognizable in this
my
scenario.
special spectacles, yes, they are high technology for this event specifically. Yes, Batman has immense deductive logic and reasoning, as I extrapolated earlier. He is like Nier and L combined into one, and also many more years' experience and direct funding to do what he needs to catch this Kira.
Stories of Seder in chat says, I thought it was a reference to the biblical idea of 40 being the number of completion in Death Note. That
There are a lot of
actually makes
references.
a lot of
Yes.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is there
'cause-
biblical imagery in Death Note?
Yes, no.
That's weird.
Light was just
I
watching
think so, like
L's feet
here and
for
there.
no
I
reason.
thought it was just an apple.
Speaking of the Apple, Light does have at his service a number of potential allies for this.
Oh, please bring in
'cause-
allies, Benjamin. That sounds like a wonderful idea. With Batman here on the call.
It's a little weird, right, to try to analyze how Light would work in a death battle per se. I feel like we would need to establish unique rules for this kind of matchup, because Light does function basically the way Light beats people like L is he strategizes, he figures out who he's fighting per se, and then who is involved, and then he tries to manipulate those people into either serving him or basically getting themselves into horrible shit.
Can I ask you a question,
or
Ben?
revealing their name.
Because you can consider which version of Light are we tackling? The early in his career, midway, or full-blown, I'm pretending to be L portion. In fact, you could consider the opponents in this death battle as potentially the eras that Light would be in when they're most likely to be a thorn in his side.
Maybe. I mean, I feel like in this case in particular, you almost have to remove like L and all of those interactions with that from the equation in terms of like what's involved in this battle. Because if we start bringing in L and the task force and stuff,
That's
then
too many.
I think it's too confusing. So where he is in his story, that's also another good question, because Light continually
Yeah. Does he
he
have
removes
Misa?
memory from himself, then gets it back, and then he also kind of drives himself mad with power. Misa is a potential ally and or hindrance.
Yeah.
Same with Rem and Mikami. Is that his name? Why am I blanking on the other guy's name?
The other guy. Yeah.
The other
third
guy,
L.
yeah.
No one likes.
Or the third
no one
light.
likes
Third Kira.
post time skip.
The one where Nier is chasing after him. Why am I blanking on his name? I think it's Mikami. Basically Light. As Kira, Light does gather followers to a certain extent, but he only really interacts with a couple. So whether or not that's involved might help or hinder Light. Otherwise, Light is sort of just a kid in a room at his parents' house. Oh, also the fact that he has connections to the police.
Yes,
that might
access to a database. It
factor
sounds
into
like.
this as well.
So to say,
Eventually.
so does Batman.
Mm. Yes, and if we're talking about allies, I of course bring Robin the Boy Wonder, true fighter for justice. I can't believe that you would think that anybody in Light's stable would be able to top that whatsoever. Not to say the commissioner was not also on my speed dial, of course.
Of course. So the real question here is who could figure out whose name first? Because once you figure out a name, whoever figures that out first basically has this.
Okay. So, a couple things. First of all, Robin, let's be real. Easiest thing for Light to solve. Who is this kid who's wearing an outfit very similar to the Flying Graysons who were orphaned?
But if he's got that, then he's got Bruce Wayne too, right? Because it is public knowledge that he was adopted.
That's true. But so chat brought up a really good point, which is that you remember the classic panel or whatever where Wonder Woman puts the lasso on Batman and asks him to reveal his true name, and he's like, "I'm Batman," because Bruce Wayne views himself as Batman.
This is actually something I wanted to bring up. I scoured through the rules of the Death Note, and not once did I find anything that defines what a name is. So, if Light were to write Batman into the Death Note and Batman considers Batman his name, does that kill Batman?
So, 2 points. Does this not affect L as well? I would say his moniker is more likely to be very similar to Batman in terms of usage of it. 2, there's a specific reason I am Batman 66 here. This does not apply, Benjamin. I'm sorry.
Oh!
So first of all, L is a title that transfers between multiple people. L even offers it to Light at one point. I don't think there's really an equivalent of this in the Death Note series, and I really don't know if I could even argue that Batman is real enough name for Batman for it to work.
I don't think, but I don't think Light would try that though. Like,
who would
he
believe
wouldn't write
and
Batman in the Death Note.
Assuming he somehow decided it was Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne. What a ridiculous concept. He would throw that out immediately. Why would Batman be Bruce Wayne? That's ridiculous.
I'm pretty sure there's a point in the series where he's just writing down a bunch of names, trying to guess what else. I might be Watari's name.
If you write down the wrong name 4 times in a row, they can no longer be killed by the Death Note. And if you do it intentionally, then you die. It's also, and I looked this up because it's relevant for the character I'm representing. You do need it's not a rule in the Death Note explicitly, but you do need a first and last name. At one point, Mello's name is written in the Death Note, just the first name, and it does not kill them. It does not kill them.
Okay. Wait, you die if you misspell it 4 times? I thought it just doesn't work anymore.
If you accidentally misspell it 4 times, that person can't be killed. But if you intentionally are like, I'm gonna misspell my own name 4 times so that I can't be killed, then you instantly die.
Now, the thing that makes this confusing is some of those rules are not real, correct? Some of those rules are fake, just to mess with the people who own the notebook, right? So
yeah. So Bruce could tell him his name but misspell it, and so he accidentally killed himself. Basically, yeah. Well, okay. There is one other note, and I'm basically shooting myself in the foot with this one. There's another rule in the Death Note, which is that you have to be able to know their full face, like the majority of their face. Yeah. So looking at Batman in a mask, he can't use that.
Yes. Clearly, Batman,
unfortunately,
private persona is not a public figure, so there's no way you'd be able to piece those two together in any way, shape, or form. I think you're correct, Benjamin. Huh. You know, I've got a lot of clues in this matchup here. How are you going to handle the outro to this, Ben? I don't think we established that.
We're going to the vote right now.
All right. Well, then
I was
in
gonna
that
say,
case, let me contact the Bat Computer real quick. Bat Computer, I've got a number of clues that I've uploaded to your database. Please run a simulation, a bat simulation for us here, using solid JJ filter at 70%. Provide that to us right here, right now, for the audience at home. What would happen if Batman met Kira?
That's right.
Oh,
I
fuck.
am Kira, god of the new world.
Good evening, Kira.
Batman. So, you've tapped this line.
I hope you don't mind.
No matter. You'll find this connection is a dead end.
Of course. Now, why don't you tell me about this deadly ledger of yours?
So you worked out some details about the Death Note, huh? Too bad you'll never find it. Or me.
Yes. Tucked away securely in a hidden desk drawer compartment. That would be quite ingenious, Light.
What? What? You cape-clad fool! You switched out my notebook for this amateur forgery!
Naturally. Even an amateur could have anticipated your every move. This supernatural scheme of yours was even more obvious than most.
Oh, you can say that over the phone, Batman. But if I had you here, I'd pound you to a
My question
pulp.
of sound is playing for the audience at home.
Start pounding, Yagami.
That computer, just to check, did that have audio playing out for these folks at home as well? I didn't hear anything on my end, but I might be having
we heard it
technical
here.
problems.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
excellent.
fine.
Yeah,
Well,
I
just
heard
double
it, yeah.
checking. Then my case is laid. Thank you, Bat Computer.
Oh my god. Bat Note absolutely killed me.
The fact that that shot is
so we
really
have a
short,
vote going
too.
on in the chat right now. I'm just gonna do this real quick. Chat or Chad, rather. Batman or Light? Obviously, you're gonna vote Light, right?
Yeah, obviously gonna vote Batman. Are you kidding me?
Okay,
You
fine,
see
fine.
that?
Liam, obviously you're gonna vote Light, right?
Batman.
Luis, you're obviously gonna vote Light, right?
Yeah, Batman.
Okay.
I vote Batman as well.
All right.
That said, I do think that like just getting at like seeing the jawline, and then I think Light could probably put it together and figure it out. It's just a question of time. But the video won me over.
I don't think so. I also have to question, like, how do we even connect? You know, where is he? He's in Tokyo? No, wherever Light is in
Tokyo.
Japan to Gotham. Like, how does that even
yeah.
connect? So
I think
Yeah,
Batman would get
there's a
involved
lot of
pretty
questions
quickly.
on how this actually would go.
This is a story
but
I would
either
like
way.
to
Batman-
see, but I don't think works very well for Light. He's definitely at a disadvantage.
Oh, Light's at a huge disadvantage. And honestly, one of the reasons why Light is able to compete with L so strongly in the series is because he has the advantage of the Death Note and the truth of the Shinigami. And
Yeah.
L's on the back seat, on the back foot the entire time. Like, he doesn't know what the hell kind of game he's playing, and yet he's still keeping up. So Batman's seen the supernatural. He can figure this shit out. But somebody who might not be able to figure this shit out is Walter White. This is a matchup that I really don't know how it could go, because I think it's a much closer one. In a lot of obvious ways, but I'm curious. Liam, do you want to kind of take the lead on Walter White here?
I'll talk a little bit about Walter. I'll talk about Walter.
Hey, Walter.
Okay, so Walter White, aka Heisenberg, is the undisputed drug kingpin of the American Southwest.
And high school teacher.
He eliminated all of his rivals. He just a lowly chemistry teacher with the ability to create an unbelievably addictive strain of methamphetamine and use some genuinely big-brained 5D chess moves to manipulate people and claw his way to power. I think that Walter, in the same way with Bruce Wayne, has a big advantage over Light in that there is literally no reason whatsoever for Light to ever even begin to suspect Walter White, high school chemistry teacher in Albuquerque, New Mexico, as being this drug kingpin, whereas Heisenberg controls an army of fucking murderers.
Does he?
And you
He does.
never
What?
get to see his face because he's wearing sunglasses and a hat.
Wait, since when does Walter control an army of murderers?
He took over.
He took over Gus's operation.
yeah,
And
Gus's
also
operation.
has the neo-Nazis that he can contract.
The neo-Nazis don't they betray him. They don't
Well, that's
follow
the nature
him.
of all criminals, Benjamin.
They just
they betray each other.
exactly.
Gus's operation, he only has Mike, right? Who else does he have from Gus's
Batman, did
thing?
you just argue for Nazis?
Who else does he have other than Mike?
Jesse, Saul.
Jesse's not gonna kill somebody for him unless he blackmails them really.
This is the thing I find
Jesse
interesting.
literally did kill someone for him.
Yeah, because he
That's
got
the end of
horribly
season
blackmailed
3.
into it. Like
This
it's
match-
it's a whole thing that he has to go through.
This match-
Nobody's loyal to him.
I think the thing
I
we
think
should...
that.
Oh, go ahead, Lee. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, I think that in the where we were talking about like what do we give for these characters, and we might need to approach each matchup differently.
Oh yeah.
I think that this would be an instance where you'd want to give Light all of his options, all of the people, like the characters that he has that have the Shinigami eyes, and give Walter his the drug empire that
His
he
network.
has as well.
The problem,
Make it a network
Sure.
versus a network fight.
but the
Right,
I think
problem
that
with-
actually-
Full power, yes.
the problem with
Yeah.
Walter is that he is too prideful of his empire.
Well,
right?
that's
Well,
the
Light
thing.
kind of is too.
Right, that's
Yeah,
the thing.
I was about
That's,
to say.
I think
Yeah,
that's why
but-
this is such a big matchup, is that thematically, between the two of them, there's a lot of parallels. It makes a lot of sense. Thematically, with the characters, it's the scale of power and why they be doing that's the problem with it.
Yeah. So
And-
we are talking about we're doing a clandestine, essentially cult in a way network in Tokyo versus a criminal drug trade syndicate, I guess, in New Mexico. Assuming they are interacting for some fucking reason.
Yeah.
what does Walter really have to throw at Light?
Light wanted to try meth. That's
Well, Walter has guns. Walter has people that
Light's never
to
seen a
take a
gun
step
before.
back.
Okay.
To take a step back, the Death Note is incredible. It also it's
Mhm.
incredible because you can kill from a distance without seemingly without ever implicating yourself. The problem is that it comes with a shitload of weaknesses as well. Whereas Walter can fucking shoot you. And Mike, well, Walter
Sure.
can fucking shoot you. Mike can unmake you.
That's true. Mike.
Okay.
Mike's a
So-
big asset for sure.
Mike is
Yeah.
a big asset, sure, but Light still or Walter still has to figure out who Kira is, right? And the only reason why Hank never figured out didn't figure out for the longest time that Walter was Heisenberg is because he thought he knew Walter. And he just overlooked a bunch of obvious clues because Walter wouldn't hurt a fly. But
No.
Walter has such a
Almost
obvious
like a Akira, you know?
reasoning. Why am I blanking on the term?
Justification.
Justification for not justification. That's not the right word. Reasoning for doing everything. He's got the material for it, being a chemistry teacher. He's clearly an overqualified high school teacher. Like he's going through cancer. Somehow he's affording his cancer treatment. Like it's not hard if you are able to get a hold of Walter's records in any way. It is not hard to put the pieces together.
He's also been
and-
discovered many times. Like everyone
yes.
he goes up against figures it out.
And I'm not entirely sure how this would necessarily connect, but Light has used his connections through the police with his father. And so if this is an international thing going on between Tokyo and New Mexico somehow, the police would probably be interacting between the two as
Ooh.
well. And
Which
so
is
he
exactly-
could potentially, through his father, get access to the clues that Hank would have seen and dismissed.
And also,
like the
go ahead.
stuff, the evidence that was found in the initial desert, like the gas mask with like the school's tag on it, that Hank is literally holding, and he's like, "Oh, this probably came from your classroom, right?
Science lab, yeah.
Yeah, and Walter's like, I don't know, that's super weird. And he's like, whatever. Like,
Right.
Light would absolutely be able to figure that out, especially because when Light turns like good in the series, when he erases his memories to like try to like convince Elle that somehow Kira is a spirit or something that travels between people. It's how he gets Misa out of custody. He figures out that he has no memory of being Kira when he's doing this. He figures out that Kira can kill people in ways other than heart attacks, which is something that when he was Kira, he was explicitly trying to set up a precedent that only heart attacks are related, that Kira can only kill through heart attacks. So Elle didn't know this, but Light, using the same evidence that Elle has had this entire time, deduces something that Elle could not. And so if Light could get a hold of literally any of the evidence that Hank has, he could absolutely figure out that Walter is Heisenberg.
First off, none of the evidence actually
could Light do that.
So first off, none of the evidence that Hank has directly implicates Walter. It's all circumstantial. The gas mask example that you use, they determined that it had been stolen. Like Walt was the evidence
suggests that it has been stolen.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Because Hank can't imagine that it just belongs to him.
It's not because Hank can't imagine. They had no evidence, and they say it in the show. They reach a dead end with the evidence that they have. Like, had they had evidence, they would have been able to eventually reach Walter. Hank is never presented with a moment where he's like, "But this would implicate Walter." No, that's not possible. He never does that because the evidence it just never approaches him. And frankly, that's more of a statement of like the distance that Walter keeps from his operations once he eventually starts getting it going, rather than like there being this preponderance of evidence in favor of him being the killer. Also, if Light becomes involved with the investigation against Heisenberg, that's actually the biggest weakness he has, because he's now putting a target on his back against someone who has absolutely no problem with carrying out international extrajudicial assassinations. Like Walter's connections are legitimately international. So if he found out that this task force was coming after him, just fucking kill them. Like it wouldn't be an issue, especially if it was foreign. You know,
one of the most interesting things to me is just to know what bit of minutia would be the thing that gets each on each other's trail, because it'd be inconsequential to them. It would be in the moment. They didn't even think about it, because that's what always leads back to them, is something they couldn't have suspected was their downfall.
Yeah, which, I mean, Light, I don't think Light would actually be directly, obviously involved in the police investigation. He only gets involved in the Kira investigation because Elle figures out that Kira must have access to police information, and Light had already hacked into his father's database without a trace. There was no evidence suggesting that he could, but Elle basically deduced through who it could possibly be that it might be Elle. He's like 7% sure that it's Elle. So he brings Light on to the investigation because he thinks he's a prime suspect. So Light himself is not going to get involved with Hank, but his father could. And so Walter could go after his father, but Walter's not going to suspect this kid who's studying, these exams or whatever so thoroughly that he can hide him killing people with a death note from I think there was like 60 something bugs and cameras in his room. And then all he needed was a bag of chips to hide the TV that he was reading off names from, and was somehow still able to kill people while studying for an exam, which he passed with flying colors, by the way. So, the dude is too brilliant.
Is this an intelligence he's now passing a high school test?
Yeah. No. This wasn't a high school test. This was like the college exam kind of thing or whatever it is.
Very important. For high schoolers.
A little bit ago, Enemy Crumble says Jesse Pinkman has been arrested and been connected with Walter directly. So if Light had a similar connection to the police, then he would be able to probably figure out who Walter's identity through him.
Yeah, Hank never deduces. Like Jesse, he sees Jesse
with
Walter
multiple times.
He never figures it out.
Yeah, because
I really do think that he got access to that information. That's all he would need.
That is true. He did.
But here's the thing: the reason he gets this is also a rules thing, right? And like the setup of the scenario, because the reason he gets involved with the investigation is because it's the Kira investigation. If it was just some random drug kingpin in like the United States, why would Light get involved? Why would the task force be involved in the first place?
Well, I mean, that creates the question of why we're doing this death battle in the first place.
I know.
We already established that we're giving them all their assets, and so I'm counting his dad as an asset here. But even if that isn't the case, even if we don't have, he can't access the police information that Hank has, he just sends Misa to go find him and tell him his name.
Ashley brings up a very interesting
Misa
point.
to New Mexico?
Yeah.
Sorry.
She's a pop star. She can travel. She's doing an international.
What the fuck is she
like?
When is she gonna see Walter White?
They set up some sort of interaction. They set up some sort of drug deal.
You stop by for some chicken on the side of the road, and then things lead to things.
Yeah. So Ashley brings up a very interesting point, which is Walter doesn't need definitive proof if Light is Kira. He can narrow it down to like 20 people and have them all killed just to be safe.
He doesn't need to know because he has
That'll
guns.
be deplorable.
Yeah, but why would he deduce that it's just some random
Why
student?
would he send Misa to New Mexico to have a drug deal directly with Heisenberg? Why would Walter? It's not season 1 anymore. It's not Tuco.
Oh my god.
You're both spiraling down the meth hole here. I think we're getting out of control.
No, do not take that line out of context.
From Batman, no less.
I mean, again, this all comes down to the situation that I think we present this match in, and what kind of context there is.
Apparently,
so with all the context that we have, who wins, everybody? Light or this
Both
guy?
are so detached from a scenario interacting with each other that it's actually very, very difficult. Like the scenario itself is really more what defines it.
Yeah, I do think as an actual death battle, it largely comes down to figuring out what the scenario is and how to make that as fair as possible. And I don't know if that's really like possible, frankly.
I said it's like I get why people put these two together. They make a lot of sense, like dramatically. But yes, the complications and the details.
Well, at a certain point, Heisenberg becomes a well-known figure. Light would hear about that and then be like, I got to figure out Heisenberg's first name.
Yep.
And that could be a reasonable way to get it started. But how
find
Heisenberg
out.
then figures out about, like, if Kira already exists, it creates a lot of questions about what Heisenberg would even be in that world. So anyway.
He can even find out where he lives. You know, like all you have to do is go on Google Earth and find the pizza, you know?
Gods of death eat pizza on roofs.
Perfect.
All right.
Do I still sound like God, by the way? Apparently something happened and
you sound fine. I think I do think the Shinigami Eyes, which for those unaware, Shinigami Eyes, his girlfriend / pop star tool, basically, that he gaslights into helping him, has eyes that when she looks at somebody, she can see their full name and their lifespan.
Wait, let me put this
So
on
I think she'll be an essential tool in this.
That's
Very
true.
important.
Okay,
Yes.
so let's vote. Chad, who wins?
This one's hard because I think with Misa there, I can figure it out, but also like, yeah, dude, Walter's just had his identity found too many times, man. It happens. Like he f's up a lot, and then he gets revenge, but like he messes up, and I don't think you can mess up when the Death Note's in play. So I'm gonna go with Light on this one.
Okay. Batman.
Yes. Yes, Benjamin.
Who are you voting for?
Well, I hate to side with a criminal of any sort. However, on this, I'm going to have to give points to Light for ability and intelligence to figure it out first.
Okay, so two things for Light. Luis?
Yeah, I just think that like Chad hit all the points on this one. It's like Light really just got this. Like there's just too many situations where Walter would just like put himself in a situation where like his identity has been found out, and just like Light has this.
Fascinating. Okay. And
Light
then the
sweep.
chat is also voting for Light as well. So Light sweep, we got a Batman sweep and we got a Light sweep, which means Light is kind of 1-to-1 now.
But there's only
So
one.
this will determine it.
There's only one matchup that Liam really
This is
wants.
the real
That was a
matchup
real
that we were
Here we
here
go.
to
I
discuss.
I will say, Benjamin, I appreciate your use of props very much, so thank you for that. Or maybe you were just hungry.
I just wanted a snack, but I don't. Yeah, I really don't know what you're talking about. All right, Liam, this is what everybody's been waiting for.
Yeah. This is the
How does
point.
Columbo
How's it
catch Light?
348?
Let's see it.
Okay. I love this matchup, and I
We don't
want
need
to
the
do
60
this
seconds. Let's
because
just go.
because
Give him as much time as he needs.
because Light is the exact kind of criminal that Columbo catches in the show Columbo. Someone who is thinks of themselves as being extremely intelligent, who is extremely arrogant, and the way that Columbo deals with them perfectly perfectly nullifies those advantages. Because Columbo is also extremely intelligent, and he pretends to be dumber than he actually is in order to catch them, while also prodding their ego and making it clear that he is in fact onto them. And I really wish this camera would stop unfocusing for the first time in
It's
my
the
this entire
godlight
career.
behind you.
Okay. Columbo would immediately know that Light is guilty upon talking to him for 5 minutes. In every single episode of Columbo, the instant he meets the perp, he goes, "Oh, it's them." He doesn't literally say that, but he indicates, it's clear to the audience that he knows that's them, and that he just hounds them because Light perfectly fits the personality profile for Kira. And to be clear, Light is not some mega genius who is uncatchable. Even without L doing his weird body switcheroo trick, the Japanese task force determined within a week all of the major rules of the Death Note, which is that he needs a face, he needs a name, and that the criminal is likely a student. L, even without that trick, knew that Light was also Japanese just by the way that he committed those murders, in a way that Columbo would also be able to deduce fairly easily. The test was just kind of a dramatic thing to determine that and to prove it once and for all, and also prod Kira, prod his ego. So I think that Columbo is a hard counter to L because he is
What a
enough
statement.
enough to antagonize L and prod his ego without making it seem like he has figured Light out. And the way that he goes about it by constantly prodding people would force Light to give himself up in some little way, which Light does a lot. Light overthinks his reactions and interactions with people constantly. And Columbo is the perfect kind of guy to take advantage of that. He's also done tons of big brain stuff as well.
Do you see this going essentially Columbo figures out or connects with the task force, basically figures out whatever they have already at the start of it, and then goes to interview?
Yeah.
Light?
I think that he just
That.
the way I imagine it is that he's just swapped for L. Like instead of like the international community going, we need to have L, the great detective, they go, we need to find Columbo, the great detective.
That's such a funny
Something
idea.
I wanted to mention, by the way, internal monologue. L thinks upon first meeting Light, there's only a 5% chance that this man is Kira, and yet I agree with you, Liam. He would immediately know that's the guy.
Light is super fucking guilty. Light acts super fucking watch Death Note. The way he talks to people when he's pretending to be innocent is insane. It's so forced. He's like, well, hello there, Light. How are you doing today? I was interested in your thoughts on the Kira case. And if you had any leads, it's so fucking fake.
Yeah.
Columbo would be like, "Oh, okay."
It's actually a really interesting idea that because Columbo wouldn't do the whole trick where he had that one guy on screen on the news within the Kanto region.
He wouldn't.
Right? He would just go to him, right?
Yeah, he would just show up.
So he would directly confront. L did not confront Light until he was essentially forced to. Because Light basically forced the task force or the police's hand to make them not trust Light. L had to reveal himself.
Horrible.
He then like basically defeated the FBI by killing all those FBI agents, and the US was like, we're not dealing with this anymore. It took a lot to get L to actually reveal himself, but in that initial, and I know I'm arguing against Light here, but in that initial meeting with not meeting per se, in the very first conflict between Light and L, which was the broadcast, Light did have a specific moment of weakness where he like very quickly wrote the name of that one guy and killed him, and he didn't respond very well. So if that initial conflict wasn't through a TV and was just
in
face to
person,
face, it might have all ended right there.
It might end right there.
Yeah. And Ashley in the chat says, the episode A Friend Indeed features a killer extremely similar in personality to Light. Columbo's boss is the killer, and Columbo still dances circles around him. How many of y'all researched Columbo because of Liam's crazy shit? That's what I want.
I've seen people talk about like watching Columbo, and they're like, wow, the show really holds up. It's actually
Columbo
really good.
is brilliant.
Yeah.
It's great. I'm glad
It's really
getting
good.
popular. There's a reason Louise and I stuck that in every episode we could. I mean, that Billy stuck it in every episode with Louise that he could.
I honestly don't know if I have an argument against Columbo.
Are you just showing up on his doorstep and being like, hey?
Yeah, like if he just shows up. Because I do.
Yeah.
I guess the argument would be like, how does he pick Light specifically? Because they know that he's most likely a student and he's in the Kanto area. But they don't know the specifics. The way the reason why L suspects Light is because of the police connection. Yes. He knows that they have some sort of connection with the police. I guess Columbo could probably start to deduce that based on the kills.
The fact that he's so like effortlessly, like the fact that he's able to kill those FBI guys, and a lot of Kira's kills are sort of like you would need to have some inside info in order to be able to do this stuff, especially with like FBI, like the Ray Pember stuff. I think that once like Columbo hooks up with the task force, finds out just, in common knowledge that the chief of police has a son and meets Light, he's like, you're guilty. And then it's just a matter of how catch him, which is the
how catch
show
the episode.
Well,
here's the thing for you, Liam. I don't think let's talk about Columbo's identity a little bit in terms of. Right. Please.
What's his name? And this is like a long running like thing. There's like interesting trivia in regards to that. So in two separate occasions, the name Frank is used. Very early on, Columbo flashes a badge to somebody, and it says Frank Columbo. And then later, like decades later, he has an evidence bag that says Frank Columbo. So you might think in that instance that his name is Frank.
So like could just Google that and he'd figure it out.
Yeah, but first of all, well, I don't know if you'd be able to. I guess it depends. I don't know you'd be able to Google it. Did Google exist in 2003? Whatever.
We're in a weird state here.
What is that?
What is a goggle? They cover your eyes. Yes.
Anyway,
Columbo, because the task force figures it out immediately, Columbo would obviously go into the scenario with the knowledge that he needs to protect his name. Second of all, it's actually not entirely. That's not so simple that his name is Frank. The flashing of the police badge was not actually approved by any of the show's writers or creators, and they have gone on record saying, "Oh, that wasn't intentional." No. He doesn't have a canonical name. And the
why
evidence
is it
bag,
Frank later on in the bag?
I don't think it's directly said. I think it's supposed to be an Easter egg in a reference to that, like the badge flashing thing. It's worth mentioning also that the badge flash is like it's not visible unless you have like modern like technology to like stop it and zoom in. So it's more of like a little fun thing. The creators have repeatedly said he has no canonical name. You're not supposed to know his name. He doesn't have one. Regardless, we know he has a name,
right?
In the series.
Well, Liam, my understanding is that due to multiple errors within entering of the information in the era he exists, they didn't actually get it correctly, so no place has the entry properly listed for this employed detective.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, Batman. I don't know what you just said.
What are you talking about?
He was saying that there were data entry issues, so like there's no record of his actual name, like
Correct.
wherever he
Light
was
would be
employed.
able to find nothing.
Is his name actually Columbo? Like, is that because I know there's the Columbo's wife, and they tried to do like a spin-off of that,
Columbo.
but that also is kind of questionable whether or not there
no,
is
I think
a Mrs.
his
Columbo.
name is Columbo. His name is
Okay.
Columbo. We just don't canonically know his first name. And regardless, he has one, right? So Light, it's not impossible for Light to learn his first name.
Yeah.
It's just and Columbo would know to hide his identity, so he wouldn't even it was Frank, he wouldn't go Frank.
Yeah, Liam. I saw a lot of people asking if like Columbo had ever dealt with like anything supernatural before, so I did some Googling, and what I came across was a very compelling argument that Columbo is actually a fallen angel from Supernatural.
Research checks out.
Because he instantly knows who's guilty and then spends the whole rest of the episode just trying to prove it and also fuck with them. And then there's another article about how like the creators of Supernatural are huge Columbo fans, and one of the characters' like wardrobe is inspired by him. So
the creators of Columbo have also said that he's not supposed to be like a man. He's supposed to be like an entity, a force of nature, this mysterious
like a Discord channel.
That's all metaphorical though. There are a lot of like side novels that Columbo has. I actually wouldn't be surprised if he's encountered something supernatural. But Light didn't know about supernatural stuff before he was able to, or L didn't before he was able to suspect Light. Once they find the Death Note, they can confirm that it's supernatural, and it's not impossible to get that.
So there's, I can see two really clear ways that this could go, which is Columbo approaches Light way earlier than Light is ready for an actual direct approach, and that leads to a confrontation that makes it pretty clear that Light is Kira.
Yeah, he's stuck in monologue for like 3 minutes.
But if Light has access to the Shinigami eyes,
yes,
which could be Misa, or if he makes the deal with Ryuk, which I question whether he would actually be willing to.
Yeah, I don't think
even in the worst situation. Columbo's done.
Yeah,
like because Columbo presents himself to the people that he's challenging, and also I don't believe the task force or the police, because the task force hadn't been made yet, was aware of the face connection. I think L was the one who figured that out. So the face and name connection. So
yeah,
because that was the one part of the broadcast that was an actual test, was whether or not he needed a specific name or face or whatever.
They had determined it on their own. They just weren't like sure. They were like all of the people, like they knew their names and they knew their faces, and I forget exactly what it is in the manga. That the test was like hard confirming.
They didn't get the faces until that one scene with the police. There was some scene, I can't remember what it was.
You're probably right. I don't remember it super well.
Either way, I don't think Columbo would necessarily be aware of the whole face and name connection. And I do think there is a possibility that he might slip up there. But I am curious. We are at the end of the show, so let's go ahead and get these votes in.
Liam, I need to know, do you have a good outro? A good Columbo outro?
Yeah.
No,
what's your final words? What final words for Columbo?
Yeah.
Like why he should win?
He's gonna send Light to the fucking Columbo dimension.
That's
where
your one
Light,
more
like,
thing.
Ryuk is not gonna be able to save his ass from shit. That is an existence that is without death. Light will be wishing. Light will be writing his own name into the fucking Death Note in the Columbo dimension.
Okay. Well, then one more thing, Chad.
Yeah.
What's your vote?
Oh, sorry, they teed that up so strangely. I was my vote. Dude. I'm gonna go with Columbo on this one. I think Light would not be able to get access. Well, the Shinigami eyes. It's hard. We gotta move on. I'll just say Columbo. I'm gonna go with my gut.
One vote for Columbo.
I did have a counter to the Shinigami eyes.
Yeah.
Wait, does he have a counter for the Shinigami eyes?
Well, it's the same thing with Light, where Light was like, if I die, L was like, if I die, it's Light. Like, it's Light. That was his thing, because he was able to predict that. Now, Columbo would still be dead, right? So you could count it as a victory that way. But it was enough to, like,
mutually assured destruction.
Light from immediately acting. So it depends again on the scenario.
He successfully killed L.
Yeah, through a lot of like
Damn,
that whole plan is extremely convoluted.
It's a very convoluted plan, but it didn't immediately like get him convicted or anything. So
it's true. It's true.
That argument, Leo, about like him just saying, "Oh, if I die, it's Light," just convinced me to vote for Light. So I was gonna vote for Columbo. Just want to let you know.
Oh,
Why?
all
Why did
right.
I convince you?
Yeah, because
interesting.
Because I mean, Columbo's dead. So
Okay.
Okay.
So we got 1 vote for Light, 1 vote for Columbo. Batman.
I don't think Light would ever accept the Shinigami eyes. He's too conceited to shorten his lifespan. So, all things considered, while I think this could be quite close, I do believe my fellow detective, police officer, Columbo, will take this one.
All right.
I feel like there was some era bias there. I'm just gonna say
2 votes for Columbo, and the chat is saying the same thing with a 79% lead.
But
Columbo
not a sweep, thanks to Luis.
takes it. Not a sweep, thanks to Luis being convinced to vote for Light.
I mean,
all
Leo had a
right.
good argument, so.
So that is gonna be it for our Light Yagami matchups. I think it would be fascinating to explore these like really in depth.
Very much.
The Walter White one I think is probably the closest, but also depends so much on the scenario that you set up.
Yeah.
Columbo is the funniest, but also maybe the most like the easiest to actually set up. Like it makes sense in a way that Columbo would just be like, yeah, I'm gonna go figure out what's going on with this weird Kira thing.
How you doing? Oh, you're a pretty bright kid.
The idea that they call it Columbo instead of L is such a funny idea.
Yeah.
Like
That's how I always imagined it.
Everything else about Death Note goes exactly the same, except for when the police are like, "We need to call in our specialist." I know who to call.
Well, you smash cut to the big L, right? And then you pull back and it's Columbo.
Yeah.
The L is actually big C.
That's great.
Oh my god. Yeah, so I would like to to hear from you guys. Let us know which of these 3 matchups you like the most. Which one would you like to see expanded into, like, I don't know, some kind of death battle or whatever it may be? Because I think all 3 of them have some very interesting ideas that could definitely be explored. All right. Well, with that said, we're going to end the episode here. Just a quick reminder, we are going to be doing Dungeons and Death Battle on the Death Battle Discord this Thursday, so 5 p.m. Central, and then our live ballot banter this Friday, also on the Discord at 4 p.m. Central. And then next week, again, unless something changes, will be our last Death Battle cast under Rooster Teeth. So be sure to tune into that. We do Death Battle cast on Tuesday at 3 p.m. live. Of course, it goes up on YouTube and Spotify and whatnot afterwards. But thank you all so much for tuning in. We hope to have some answers to questions that I know you guys have coming up soon in the upcoming cast, and also the fireside chat next week as well. And we hope we can tell you as much as we can. So thank you all so much for joining us, and we will see you next week. Oh, wait, come back. I just realized post credit scene. I should have said this earlier. Next Death Battle cast, if it is going to be our last one, we wanted to go out with like a bang, right? We want to do something really special. So next cast, we're finally doing it. Wiz versus Boomstick.
You know what to vote for.
If you have any sort of fan art you want to share, or theories, or thoughts on how you think that fight should go, let us know. Please send it to us through social media or however. We would love to see it. It is going to be a fun time. All right, now we'll see you next week.
One
Take
more
care.
thing.
Goodbye, everybody.